Hello, I'm live. You know, I've just spoke to my mum to tell her that my show starts in 10 minutes or so, and she feels that she can't be bothered watching it because Emmerdale's on, and Emmerdale's more important, and she'll catch the rerun. That's you know, I'm the only son, and that's where I stand. Okay, thanks, Mum. In the meantime, it's been quite a busy week in the news today. This week, sorry, and I don't often read the news that much because I'm too busy with tax stuff and keeping up with what's going on with Brexit and that type of thing. But I thought I'd skim through the news and see what's going on, and it's all very, very depressing. So I've made a few notes of things I want to comment on. I'm not here to read the news, but it is a source of things to talk about, especially as I don't really want to lecture anybody on anything in particular. I just want to give my opinions, and hopefully you'll give yours, and I can deal with that. But one thing that I did read was something I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, where we were talking about that shoppers and the public now seem to be supporting small businesses more than big businesses, and if they can get something from a small business, apparently Graham Booth's just come on, hold up, I'm missing Emmerdale. Yeah, I can imagine you being in Emmerdale for some reason, I think with a bobble hat perhaps as well, but just going back to that businesses are like buying, so people prefer to buy off small businesses, and it's something I would rather do. Somehow there's something inherently untrustworthy in the big stores, but this is what they've been saying, and I think part of the problem is that not enough of you are actually offering your goods and services online, and nor are you promoting it that much. I think you need to be online more and do more. And I was thinking, why don't people do stuff? I mean, why do businesses fail? And I think a lot of it is because everything is such a hassle. We don't do stuff because everything's such a hassle. You need a big infrastructure and you need everything behind you. I mean, even me, I've been posting stuff on Instagram, for instance, and it's so tedious, and you've just got to keep at it. But unless you can get someone to do it for you, I mean, my partner's helping with me with this now, as well as our PR team, and they're posting everything they can. But you do need that infrastructure. You need to sort of sit there and say, right, this is my message, and this is what I want to get across. There are some shortcuts, but I'm not too sure about the shortcuts. For instance, I joined a group on Instagram called The Top Persons, and it's nice. It's like a worldwide organisation of thousands of people all over the world that support your network. So you can post something, instead of putting it through LinkedIn, which you do anyway, you put it through their site, and it gets delivered to everybody in this group, and their mission is to go in and like your post and watch your videos and do everything else, which is a great boost, but I don't know if it's real trade. But it's, you know, you never know. It's just another way of getting your name out there. So it's The Top Persons. Go and join it. I'm on it. It's just a hassle because you're getting lots of emails all the time to go and like somebody's post or go and look at it. But you know, if you look at them carefully, there's some interesting people out there that might bring some business to you or you to them, and it's a worldwide organisation. So I'm not a commission agent. I'm not anything. It doesn't cost anything, and I think it might get you into the bug of posting and being on Instagram, and therefore going on to Facebook and all the other social media sites that you should really be on. And so I'm just going to cross that off now because I've mentioned that. And the infrastructure is, again, it's like I say, it's just sitting there and working out what you're trying to achieve and listing things that you need. Now, I had, in conjunction with this, I had an email message coming over from Sue Odell. I think we've met in Wigan, and she's saying that due to COVID, I'm heading for my first business loss in 20 years. What's the best course of action? Well, I think the first thing you need to do is stop worrying. Don't panic. There's a lot of people losing a bit of money this year, and probably for the next 4 or 5 months of 2021. But I think business will improve, and I think it might even be a massive jump of trade that will bring back the business you've lost. So get ready for that. But the first thing you've got to do is, if you are making losses, is have a look at where the losses are coming from. And once you can analyse what area of the business is losing money, or where the losses in general come from, then you can plan and do something about it. Now, that's a bit of a vague answer, but it's all about having a look where the losses are coming from. So if you're retail based, can you offset those losses by doing more online? Can you streamline some other areas? Can you cut expenses some other areas? But don't cut expenses unnecessarily, and bear in mind that when the boom comes, you're going to need whatever you've got. So if you can sort of like freeze things, then that's fine. If you've made a loss, it's not the end of the world, because businesses in the main do go up and down, and the fact that you've been in business for 20 years shows that you've probably got quite a fairly successful business, and one that's quite stable. One thing to watch, though, is that there is not that many businesses go out of business because they have made a loss. They go out of business because they run out of cash. So you need to be watching that cash flow. That money's in and out of the business. You've got to make sure that you've got your cash flow projections set up so you know what money you're going to need when. So there's no point borrowing money today if you don't need that money until next June. But secure the loan possibility in June, just in case, but don't take it, because by June you might have traded out of the problems. Remember, cash inflows should come from profits and sales, but they can also come from borrowing money, or selling equity, or selling off equipment and things that you don't need. But do be wary of those, and just try and concentrate on profitability, which is easy to say when I'm sat here at a desk. But whatever it takes, you know, keep that cash fluid, because that's what matters. I've got, funny enough, I've got another one from Dave Morgan in Crewe. What's happening with cash? I had some building work recently, and the company didn't want to be paid in cash. Well, that's interesting, that building companies don't want to be paid in cash. And I think if you're something about cash, there's this cash accounting, which is a way of accounting your trade by only declaring what monies have come in and what monies have gone out, as opposed to the standard accrual, where you apply. You account for transactions as they're made, regardless of when they're paid, if that makes sense to you. If you've got any queries about that, if you've got any worries about that, just contact me. But with cash, there does seem to be cash leaving society, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I certainly know that less cash means it's harder not to declare income, because any other form of taking income has to be declared, and I think ultimately that's a good thing, because not only is it the law, but it levels the playing fields. So good on the builder that doesn't want to take cash, but it is going to be a problem that people no longer want to spend cash, everything through the banks, everything through cards. Cash is dangerous. You don't hear people breaking into tills and shops to steal the card machine, but if they know there's cash there, you've got problems. So it's also easier to manage and monitor, and from an accounting perspective it's great, because we get that information coming in pretty much straight away. So yeah, cash is disappearing. From a business point of view, I don't think it's a terrible thing, but I mean, I'll still take cash. I just put it in the bank. So, but I rarely get cash, so I don't have that privilege. But you know, if you've got cash, put it in the bank, and declare the sales as normal, and pay people in the format that they want to be paid in. You know, I know it's petty if it's only 20 quid or £10 or something like that, but that's the way it is. So I'm just going to cross that off now. And Sue, I usually do the questions at the end, but I've only got one left, and it's from Tony Smith. I don't know where he's from. Can you explain the difference between gross profit and net profit? Well, net profits is effectively the money that you can spend after you've paid the tax on it. It's the amount that you tend-ish to get taxed on. Gross profit is the difference between basically what you buy something for, prepare it for sale, and then sell it for. And then out of that, come all your expenses, like rent, rates, wages, everything, and what you're left with is net that you pay the tax on, and then you can do what you want with it. I mean, you shouldn't just spend money. You should make sure you've got some reserves and maybe even invest it. But that's basically the difference. I hope that helps, Tony. Just moving on to here though, because we were talking with Sue being worried about her business closing and what happens if she's made a loss. And really, at the end of the day, if you are a limited company and you've made losses to the point that you can't carry on, you've got no cash reserves and you've got no way of raising cash, and basically you owe more money than you have, then you're in a dangerous place, and you could end up being insolvent and going to liquidation. And at the moment, there must be a lot of people out there worried about going to liquidation. So all I'll say is, like with everything, just slow down, pause, take a breath, because going into liquidation doesn't mean that you're going to go to prison, and it doesn't mean that you're going to die. What it means is that the business has got to stop, and it gives you a chance to regroup yourself. Remember, if you die, you can't carry on, but you can always start a new business, or you can always come to some agreement with creditors. You can always pause. And liquidation just means that any assets belonging to the company will go, and it won't mean that you've ended up with a lot of debt, provided you've not been naughty. And even then, there's wriggle room. But if you've got a company that you're fearing is you can't trade anymore, and you're worried about getting into all sorts of trouble, then don't worry about being put into liquidation or declaring the company insolvent and going that way. It's not so terrible. It's only bad if you've been fiddling the books and stuff, or other people. And it's a similar thing with personal bankruptcy. Personal bankruptcy will it'll stay there for a year. You'll be bankrupt for a year, providing there's no nonsense going on. And after the year, all your debts are wiped clean, and you can start again. It doesn't do your credit history any good. It's not the most pleasant of experience, but it's something that if you're worried about, it's not as bad as you think, and it can be taken care of. And like always, whether you're a client or not, if you're a bit worried about this being in this situation, you can give me a ring and I'll go through in more detail on an individual basis of how the business is going and what maybe your options are. I mean, at the end of the day, you've got big firms like Debenhams now closing down, or certainly a lot of their stores. I mean, that's been going on for a long time now, and I didn't understand why it was bought out in the first place. Personally, I believe it, anyone buying a company like that, whose days are numbered anyway, they're doing it because there's some sort of tax benefit for them, or they're trying to get rid of some dead stock cheap, or they're just trying to be clever clogs, or there's some other agenda going on. But if a business like Debenhams has been failing for years and years and years, and it keeps being propped up by introduction of new cash, so the investors and the shareholders, they're the ones being scammed, or no, that's not fair to say, they're the ones making bad decisions. At the end of the day, if Debenhams was mine, I would convert the top floors to like hotels and guest places and maybe even apartments, and have more boutique places all over the rest of the remaining space, and certainly I'd bring in some more smaller firms, like a boutique marketplace, because I think that's what people want. Nice showrooms, not big rambling stores selling everything that people can get online easier and generally cheaper as well. I don't know. I mean, I quite like Debenhams, but I like it because there's a coffee shop upstairs, not because I find anything interesting to buy. It's all the same old stuff anyway. So that's with Debenhams. But even down to people are losing footholds at the moment, and when it's a big firm, I'm quite happy about it, except for potential job losses. But those job losses can often be replaced by people going to become self-employed themselves, or finding other areas that are booming, because it's mainly the leisure and retail sector that is affecting, which I'm heavily involved with. So I'm, from a personal basis, not great for me either. But at the end of the day, people will find other businesses, and there are other businesses, and I see clients moving into them rather than just the bricks and mortar retail. But what was I just looking at? Yeah, I read that Utterly Butterly, that they've been the top of the sort of market leader in spreadable butters and things, and they've been overtaken. They're not anymore. So I personally can't believe they're not bitter about that. So sorry, I said that wrong. I can't believe they're not bitter. Yeah, that was the right thing. Anyway, I thought it was funny, so I'll cross that one off because I said it wrong. Do you know what? Do you know what interested me? What I find particularly interesting in was Rolls-Royce have been awarded building power plants. You know, power plants given to Rolls-Royce, which is, you know, I'm sure it's a fine company, but they've been bankrupt or nearly bankrupt so many times that, you know, if they can't get their finances in order and their business management in order, should we be trusting them with power plants, or are they two completely different things? I mean, what do I know? I've never even been in a Rolls Royce. Oh, hang on, I have. When I got married the first time, I went straight from the synagogue to the Rolls Royce, the wedding car, which took me to hospital because for some reason, as I was getting married, as the rabbi was saying what he was saying, I started going blind. I'd got some sort of infection of conjunctivitis, and I was rushed from the synagogue straight to the hospital, and I was drugged up, and I was blind for 2 weeks after that. I don't know whether somebody was telling me something, but that's the only time I've been in a Rolls Royce. So I thought you'd like that. I mean, things do, you know, it's so much doom and gloom out there that you do get a bit fed up sometimes. I mean, the other day this is how bad it gets. I went for a walk in this local park in Bury, and it's a lovely place, and they've even got a waterfall, a stream, and this is how bad it is. I'm walking up this stream, and I'm just sort of looking at it, and I thought, you know what, I could put my desk there, put my computer there, and I could have my desk, and I could look at the waterfall. So even when I'm out for a walk, it's all about work, isn't it? But just looking at the social media element again, I want to stress that you, whether you believe it or not, that you are better at social media than a lot of the big boys. Because when you think about it, a lot of the big boys, they're only employing people to do a job. And sometimes they're employing agencies who then employ people to do a job. And it gets further and further down the line, and no one really gives a shit what they're doing. Whereas with you, your business is you. So all you've got to do is talk about yourself and say the things you like and the things you want. So you're miles ahead of some of the big companies out there, which I think is really exciting when you think about it. I mean, I much prefer hearing a story about an individual's business and how they've built it, or what their special products are, or what they do, rather than hearing the legends of Coca-Cola. You know, sorry, but I do. The other thing that I'll note is that I read is that, do you know what, at the Tower of London, do you know the Tower of London? Apparently there's ravens there, and they give the ravens names, and one of the ravens has died. And that could be a bit worrying, because apparently the legend goes that if there's less than 6 ravens at the Tower gates, then Britain will fall. So, you know, I hope there's more than 6, and maybe not having cash anymore, and maybe COVID, and maybe Debenhams closing down, and people having to work at home, you know, and look after the kids, and actually now become the teachers for. Can you imagine, you know, teachers, parents as teachers? You know, I'm glad my kids are grown up, because I wouldn't want to teach them. And can you imagine in 20 years' time what the state of the nation is going to be, with kids walking around trained by alcoholics? So education at home. I mean, I think it's in principle it's a good idea, but I'm not sure whether it's good for the parents, let alone the children. It's probably me. I'd be saying, yeah, go and watch that film, go and watch that telly, just leave me alone, you know. But I'm a lousy parent, so what can you say? So you know, maybe this is all foretelling that there is going to be a fall with the ravens, and therefore these are all signs that Britain's going to fail. Now I'm coming to another area that's it actually quite upset me, because I didn't realise. Because sometimes I'm not, I don't know whether it's just me, but I'm not always that attuned to what goes on in the bigger world. I know that we've left Brexit. Oh, just with Brexit. Just let me give you this email. It's www.gov.uk/transition. Now, it's in our opening titles. It's in our the words when we're promoting this broadcast. If you go on there and you're an exporter or an importer, you can do a quick run through, just ask some online questions, and it'll tell you exactly what you need to do in regard to VAT if you're importing or exporting. In the main, you're just going to go back to treating the EU as a non-vatable country, and you just zero rate your sales. So if you're selling abroad, now you will need an EORI certificate, but if you're already in export and it's got to have GB at the front, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about, because you've probably already had it automatically renewed. If you haven't, just go onto that website, check whether you need it, and order, tell them that you need an EORI certificate, and they'll send you one. So it's not that, there's very little to do. It's no big deal, but just do that. So I just wanted to mention slavery. Gosh, accountants talking about slavery, cheap labour, free labour. Well, it's never free. There's always delivery costs, and there's always maintenance costs. You've got to feed people, and you've got to do stuff. So it's not totally free, but it is very, 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 very cheap. And it's all right being flippant about it, but I never realised the extent of it. I was reading an article, and it turns out, the reason I've even noticed this, because I saw the news, and it was about this new legislation coming in to make sure that if you buy goods off a company from abroad, that you do a certain amount of due diligence to make sure that your suppliers or the supply chain hasn't been involved in slavery. I thought, just how big is this area? And apparently 1 in 20 people live their lives as slaves, and that's all over the world. I mean, in the UK alone, I think I wrote it down, I think there's something like over 10,000 slaves in the UK today. And I thought, how can there be so many people in slavery? It's awful. So do bear in mind that sometimes, I mean, Coronation Street covered this a while ago when they had a girl from, I'm not sure, an Eastern European country, and they sort of thought they were coming over to the UK for a better life, and they pay to come over. And of course they came over, and while they were working off this mad amount of money, I mean tens of thousands of pounds, they were kept in terrible conditions without any wages, effectively working as slaves. And that's without all the abductions that go on, where people are working in as slaves, and they are working in very bad conditions or for no money. I mean, slavery is not just like we depict from TV, like when we're watching Roots and programs like that. It's not just as cruel as that. It's not just as open as that. Sometimes it's just young girls in the sex slave, in the labour slave, even people on building sites, where they're not chained. They're just working in fear because they might get beaten up, or the family might get beaten up, and it's terrible. These vulnerable English people are also targeted. So it's not like they're coming from third world countries, and they get groomed into these drug gangs, and they get children are often kidnapped and forced into different things, and it's all the vulnerable people that get drawn in. So I'm not calling out for any help. I'm not saying get involved. I'm just saying, maybe because this is such a horrendous thing, it's bad enough depriving people of liberty. I'm not getting on a soapbox, that it might be something to look out for, especially in your more slightly dodgy type places. The places that don't take cash as much and declare accounts and are there year on year are probably less likely to be involved in stuff like that. Not that I'm saying that those that aren't like that are into this, but it's something just maybe keep an eye on them. you know, sometimes it's easy to make flippant jokes, but it's not that funny. Anyway, I'm going to end tonight because I think, you know, I might have people banging on my door, slave traders looking for me. But I think just to end this, to bear in mind with software, I just want to get this off. There's a lot of companies out there that need to be using software, and you need to be using software to manage your business better. But apparently, more than 70% of small businesses buy software that doesn't do the job. And I feel that a lot of that isn't because the software is oversold, although some of it might make promises it can't keep. But I think it's just that people buy the software and they're not really sure what they need. So if you want to look at software for your business, I think the main issue here, the main thing to look at, is maybe find a consultant that will look at your business and see what you need, and then put the right or recommend the right type of software. They're not expensive, and it's just a case of getting somebody that knows what they're doing. I mean, I regretted not doing this. I've got loads of software. I'm very big into this type of thing, but I took on a client relationship management software called Salesforce, and it's one of the biggest in the world. It's a very reputable company, and the software does everything it's supposed to. But it took me a year of studying it to even get to the bits where I can actually use it, and there's loads more stuff that I don't know how to use, and even though they have helplines, they're not really that great. So it's much better to maybe take on somebody that, if it's something that you use daily that is complicated, to be in the background. And there's lots of consultants that do this for a nominal fee, and it might be advisable to get somebody in to look at your systems, look at how you work things, and look to put automation software in. But unless you're a software engineer, or you really understand what you're going to do, or you have time to manage it. I mean, why do you think we do so well with things like Xero and Sage? Clients take it on, they haven't got the time or the patience to use it. They know the fundamentals, but they don't know the in-depth, so they give it to us to do. So we know these programs, that's what we understand. But if you get more other things outside of the accountancy world, then we don't know. So if you are thinking of putting software in, even cheap software, what you're really looking at is putting some sort of system in your business to make it more efficient. And I can give you some people that can help you do this at nominal fees. So don't worry about it getting stitched up. So anyway, I think I've covered quite a lot. I've jumped around a little bit tonight. I've got my cameraman signaling to me that enough's enough, and I'm so glad that he's one of the slaves that we found begging outside. But he seems to know what he's doing most of the time. So I'd like to say thank you for listening to me, and hopefully I'll see you next week or on the replays. Good night.